Hey, what is going on, everybody? It's Friday night, 7 p.m. Well, we changed the name. It's the NFC Conference Championship talk this week. Myself, Paul Spencer, and, of course, Phil Haney in beautiful Tampa Bay. What's going on, Phil?
Not much, man. Can't complain. After one hell of a season and getting ready for the championship weekend.
Yeah, definitely. We had some great games last week. I mean, some games, like, I couldn't believe, the score of some of these games. We talked about it last week, of course. We thought they'd be a little bit closer than some of these games. And some of the games we thought would be a blowout, and it didn't turn out that way. I mean, the winning team won, but the score didn't really reply to that, what we talked about there, Phil. But how about we talk about one game, Phil? Baltimore and Houston. I thought Texan might have a shot here. And you know what? Baltimore, I tell you what, they showed something in that third and fourth quarter. I mean, they game planned the way they did in the first half. But that second half, total night and day. And I tell you what, I don't know if I'm becoming a Lamar Jackson believer, but I believe in his legs, put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, he did what he likes to do or what he's capable of doing. And, it just goes to show that there's championship caliber teams and then there's upstart playoff teams, and there's a difference, a clear difference. Right,
sure.
For the most part, especially here in the AFC, I think that's pretty clear, right? So, Houston played great. CJ Stroud acquitted himself very well for a rookie in his first playoff game. You can't really take anything away from Houston, but I think you're right. I mean, after the second half, you saw what a championship team can do with an MVP quality quarterback, right?
Yeah, I mean, the other show that I was talking, that I did earlier this week, we were talking about, making adjustments, the proper adjustments from first half to second half. Nothing against DeMarco Ryans there. He played one hell of a season, put his players in position to win throughout the season, made the playoffs in their first year with a rookie quarterback as well. But when you got a coach like Harbaugh there, who's been there, done that, been to the Super Bowl, he knows how to adjust game flow. And what I seen in his first half versus second half, Phil, see how you believe about this. It was putting Lamar Jackson in a position like, okay, you know what? We don't need to throw the ball, brother. You got legs, man. Go ahead and use your legs. If they want to, get over pursue you, take the run, take that 5-yard run, take that 10-yard run. I mean, you're an extra weapon in the backfield here. And it was just something that you can contain him, but you ain't going to stop Lamar Jackson. And that's very simple. We've seen that throughout the years. And I tell you what, I'm not a believer yet. Phil. Not a believer. But you know what? My words, 3 words, has proved me wrong. And so far, he shut me up last week, put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I fall in the same camp with Lamar Jackson. I think that it goes back to me, and I know this is kind of a dangerous name sometimes to say in certain circles, but it goes back to Colin Kaepernick with me and knowing that you can go so far and then teams kind of figure out that you really are dependent on your legs more than your arm.
Agreed.
If you're that kind of a quarterback. And it's always been up to Lamar Jackson to prove defensive coordinators and other teams in this league wrong that he can be a threat with his arm first. And as soon as he's able to do that, then that's whenever he becomes basically unstoppable. He becomes even more potent and deadly than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, coming out of Louisville, when I first seen him play 2 years there and winning the Heisman Trophy, of course, I watched him play, and I thought this kid, like, okay, this kid is a human highlight film. He can beat you with his legs when he gets to the NFL. That's something that we don't see in the NFL. I call that hybrid quarterback 2.0, that you're not going to stop him with his legs, of course. But that throwing motion that he's always had, even with Louisville, that sidearm, like I want to say like the Phillip Rivers sort of throw, to the sidearm there, not
Right.
the deep, accurate throw, but exactly what you said. When this kid figures out what his arm can do, and I want to say more put in the work, put in the work too. I mean, we looked at Jalen Hurts a couple years ago. He was so non-accurate with the ball, goes to Arizona, practices out there, arm becomes great. Then they figured him out with the legs here. You take away the legs, you got to beat you with your arm, pick your poison there. But Lamar has not seen his, I want to say ceiling. He's seen his limits, which is throwing the ball here. But man, I tell you what, Lamar Jackson, 100 yards rushing, man, 11 carries, 9.1 average, and only throwing the ball 152 yards total. And the crazy thing is 229 yards on the ground. Baltimore is built to run, and that's playoff football, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time. The run game in the playoffs and defense, right? You got to control the ball. And the two ways you do that is with your defense and with the run game.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way the Ravens are built.
Yep.
And you're finally starting to see the fact that he is Lamar Jackson being able to throw the ball when he needs to. It's not like, no, he didn't have crazy yards, but he threw the ball when he needed to, just enough to where when the chips are down,
Agreed.
just put the ball in his hand, and then the threat is enough that it gives him just enough space to be dynamic, right? We always talk about the other thing in the NFL is get your athletes the ball in space, and it's all about scheming the right way. And if you can get his arm early in the game, just enough of a thing you have to respect from the defensive, opposing defense, then that gives him all the space he needs to start being deadly with his legs.
Yeah, agreed. Just like
and the more tired that the opposing team gets, the easier it is for him to start making those plays, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just like Ken said, the Baltimore defense shut down the Texans, shut them down. And going throughout the season here, you see, Singletary had some great games out there running the ball. CJ's got out of the pocket, But when you hold Devin Singletary to 9 carries for 22 yards, that's showing basically to me you're playing behind the sticks here. You're going to just avoid the running game. Let's go to the passing game, which 19 out of 33 for Stroud wasn't bad. Only 175 though. That's not CJ Stroud numbers, but tip your cap to the Baltimore Ravens defense, man. I mean, they pinned it back and just went after them. I tell you, this defense is ferocious, man. I don't know what to say about this defense.
Harbaugh,
yeah.
It doesn't matter who the DC is. That's something that is synonymous with, a John Harbaugh team.
Yeah.
That is the defense.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of crazy, you talk about the Harbaugh name, Michigan, going down to Los Angeles Chargers now. It's old school values. Defense wins championships in that mentality. Harbaugh goes to Michigan. He changes that philosophy to old school run Michigan football. It's old school values here. He's taking it back to like, well, you know what? We might have the best record in the regular season, but we get to the playoffs, we're playoff ready. Old school football here. And I tell you, Baltimore, man, they are opening my eyes big time here, Phil. They really are, But how'd you feel about that 34-10 score?
I don't know. I feel like I think we talked about it. Like I think I felt like of all the spreads, it was probably the most accurate. I didn't think it would be that big of a gap, but I did feel like at a certain point, it's just like we talked about, or I said earlier, like you have playoff teams and then you have championship teams, right? And it's like a thoroughbred versus, a regular freaking horse. Maybe that horse is going to keep up initially, but quarter way through the track, it's going to fade, and that thoroughbred is going to win.
And that's a great point there. The first half, it was damn near 3 points, almost tied. They missed a field goal in the first half to get the lead there. But going to that second half, just like you said, there's a horse and a thoroughbred, man. The race is 4 quarters here, and I tell you what, that third and fourth quarter, it was just wear you down. Pick your poison here. Lamar runs for 100 yards. A safety's linebackers, even if they're spying on him, moving out of the pocket, that takes a lot of toll on you. Your legs there, being a defensive guy, shadowing a player like this, even if it might be a decoy at times, whatever. But man, it's called playoff football. Baltimore really showed me something here. They really did. I mean, I believed in the Texans, a little hype there, but hats off to them too, Phil. They had a great season with the rookie QB and also, a rookie head coach as well. The sky's the limit, man. The future is bright for that team right there.
Yeah, especially in that division. I think their
Yeah.
division is wide open for
Yeah.
them.
Mhm.
I think they have a lot of opportunity there. CJ Stroud, I don't see him. I mean, I think that you're going to have a sophomore slump no matter what as a quarterback in the NFL for multiple reasons.
Mhm.
Another time. I mean, that's an entire show. You just start
Sure.
talking
Yeah.
about sophomore slumps for dynamic quarterbacks like that. But
Mhm.
yeah, the ceiling is very high for this team. The AFC in that area is, I think, wide open for them, and I can
Agree.
see them being a playoff team every season. Going forward here, they're going to be a perennial playoff team.
Definitely.
And you talk about it like this is a team in the other side of the ball, the Ravens, that they're waking up, man. And
Yeah.
it wasn't just Lamar, sure, 100 yards on 11 attempts. That's insane. But Hill still carried the ball for 66 yards
Mhm.
and 5 yards a carry. Gus carried the ball, Edwards, for 4 yards a carry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, it's not just it's that run game in general, and that's what you got to be worried about when you look at a team like this with a run game that controls the clock on one side of the
Yeah.
ball, and
Yeah.
defense that grinds you down on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, you know what? I hope Lamar Jackson went out there for Christmas, got everybody a Rolex on that offensive line, man, because I tell
Tell
you
you
what,
what,
that's the bread and butter right there. Just like
he,
you said, 4 yards to carry, 6 yards to carry, 9 yards to carry. Man, that's you don't see that in the NFL, especially playoff time right now. Down to 8 teams then, now 4 teams now. You don't see that anymore. Phil, that's just insane there. But before we get off, the Texans, they're out of the playoffs here. I want to ask you one question, Phil, your opinion here.
yeah.
If the Texans would have took Bryce Young, where would they be versus Bryce Young versus CJ Stroud in that scenario? Where do you think they would be?
I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily super fair right now because I think that Bryce
True.
Young is in a really bad situation
Definitely.
and a
Definitely.
really bad environment.
Hmm.
And which is something I have no problem talking about, seeing as how their new head coach is our former OC.
Yes.
Um, but I don't think it's. I don't know. I wonder what Bryce Young would have been able to do in a more positive environment in a place that had some other tools and other things that it didn't just have to all be on him, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
the GM and ownership wasn't basically a dumpster fire. Like
Yeah.
somehow of what was a dumpster fire in the way that they were going with uh
Houston.
quarterback,
Yeah. Quarterback. Yeah.
Deshaun Watson.
Oh,
Like
okay. Yes.
they looked like Lovie Smith and the coach, like everything that happened with them, it looked like they had egg on their face. It looked like they were completely mishandling and burning their franchise to the ground.
Hmm.
Letting Hopkins go, right? And now, if we look at them, maybe they knew something a little bit before anybody else did about
Yeah.
the culture that the coaches at the time was bringing in, and maybe that their quarterback was bringing in. And by changing that culture when they did, as they did, ripping the Band-Aid off, like a lot of franchises would be would
Hmm.
be afraid or scared. We could go back Rugrats. They would be scared to make those moves, to do it the way that Houston did. And Houston went did it. And if you could see what they're doing now. So maybe Carolina has an example now and says, okay, maybe we have to rely on someone who looks to be somewhat of a modern QB whisperer, what he did with Geno Smith and now
Right.
Baker Mayfield. Maybe he can come in and Dave Canales and do something with Bryce Young as well. But it starts more than with just Dave Canales. And I'm always, always afraid for guys like him who haven't been head coaches before or are kind of like rising stars and then go into dumpster fire situations as first-time head coaches. I would be afraid to take that job because you see how many guys have gone through the blender in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like one of those places where you go. Let's say it's your last run. You know what I mean? Either you make it or you know what, make it or break it. But if you break it, you might not find another job out there. But
Right.
I like how you said that. It's not fair to assume C.J. Stroud being a vice versa than Bryce Young, because just like you said, Bryce Young was drafted there. Of course, they gave up the farm to get him, but it goes to show that they gave away their best receiver to get the quarterback, DJ Moore. So that tells you right away, like, you know what? We're not projecting you to come in here and light the league on fire. This, you know what? It's a 5-year window. We're still rebuilding. You're the rebuilding tool here. CJ Stroud, they went out and got Dalton Schultz. They got, a good running game, a good head coach there to put him in position, but they succeeded themselves as well. But, let's get into another team here. San Francisco and the Green Bay Packers. This line was 9.5, 10 and a half on some standpoints. 3-point game here, Phil. 3-point game.
Yeah, this is the one that really surprised me in the way
Mhm.
that, San Francisco played early in that game. Green Bay came out, played well, hung around.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was very surprised by the way
Me
San
too.
Francisco came out looking very rusty with all of their tools and everything that they had at their disposal. I was very surprised by that.
Yeah, I tell you what, the one stat that bothers me the most that cost this game was Jordan Love 2 picks.
Mhm.
In a 3-point game there, you had all rights to win this game, and, we'll talk about that last drive of Purdy, 6 for 7 on the last drive. That was an insane drive there. When he didn't have the best game, for 3.5 quarters here coming in, and then that last drive, Phil, was just, like, right down the field. It looked like the, Brock Purdy, the MVP talk guy is what it seemed like to me. But Jordan Love, 31 for 24, 194, 2 TDs, 2 picks. Aaron Jones had a great game, of course. He's shown that he can run the ball 18 for 108, of course. But, man, I tell you, we talk about coaching, Phil. The fourth
Mm.
quarter, the second quarter, you can play first and second, third quarter looking good. Third and fourth quarter is well, it's all about. That's playoff football. Make the adjustments. This game could have gone either way, but man, I give you so much credit to the Green Bay Packers for staying close right now. A lot of people said it was a fluke when they beat Dallas. Well, you know what? I don't think Dallas would have looked this damn good. That honestly against the Niners, really, they schemed, they played well. Hats off to them. But what did you think about this?
I mean, I think we saw I don't know, there's a lot of talk about vanilla Joe Barry. I'm on that train coming into the playoffs, right? About how easily that guy was, easy to scheme against as an offensive coordinator, and how he just kept giving up the farm, and it was really the offense
Mm-hmm.
that was keeping this team in it. And he just showed 2 weeks in a row, maybe he's not so vanilla, maybe he's not so average, Joe Barry. Maybe he
Mm-hmm.
has something that it just took a little bit of time and some preparation, and maybe he was playing his cards a little close to the vest. I don't know. I don't think it's that because I think they squeaked in the playoffs. He probably would have been trying them a little bit more. Like, but
Yeah.
we saw a little bit out of that defense we weren't expecting in both
Yeah.
games in the
Yeah.
playoffs from Green Bay. I think
Yeah.
that's really the big story because that's what really kept them in it early on. And yeah, Jordan Love is developing just like CJ Stroud right before our very eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Becoming the guy that Jordan Love is a little bit different because we kind of saw him sit behind
Sure.
a Raj.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and kind of wait for that opportunity, right? But yeah, like we saw what he can do. A couple interceptions. I mean, again, a young developing quarterback, big bright lights. You're not always going to make
Yeah.
all the right reads, all the right plays right away. You're not
Mm-hmm.
everyone's built the same way, and sometimes you got to learn before you get to that next level. Some guys come in and just have it, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have the ability to get back there. And I think if you're a Packers fan, man, you got to be feeling pretty damn good right now.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's a great thing that you said there. Bright lights. I mean, you go into Dallas, it's a 7 seed here, squeak into the playoffs, basically. Nobody thought you would be there. You squeaked in, from a hot run at the very end, late of the season there. You get in, you go to Dallas, who's 16-0 the last 2 years at home here, scoring 40 points a game, lights out, defense playing. You game plan for it. You came in and beat them in their own house. Then you know what? Then arguably you get the top team, really in the NFL out there. So a lot of people say San Francisco 49ers. You go out there and you only lose by 3. Sky's the ceiling for this kid. And to me, you know what? I don't believe in a lot of momentum things, a moral victory. But I'll tell you what, if I'm Jordan Love, I'm thinking like, damn, I'm not patting myself on the back for this one. I go into Dallas and I almost win the game. Almost is not a word we use in the NFL, but I tell you what, use that word, kid, because you almost beat the number 1 seed San Francisco 49ers. 2 bad picks. This game could have been 10-point swing right there, honestly.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know that right there. And I think that, I don't really believe in moral victories per se, but at the same time, you take your gains where you get
Yeah.
them, right?
Yeah.
And you pat yourself, like you give yourself credit, right, when you
Mm-hmm.
deserve it. And I think you're absolutely right there. This kid came in going into Dallas where the commentary was, well, A-Raj, Brett Favre had a terrible track record in Dallas. A-Raj owned Dallas in
Yeah.
Dallas. That was
Yeah.
like his house, right? So that was all the commentary. Well, you know what A-Raj can do there, but Jordan Love, first time,
Mm-hmm.
he came out and he showed, oh, I could do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
House money though is a big thing there, right?
Yes,
When
it
you go
is.
into Dallas in that situation, and then when you're going into San Francisco, I think maybe you're a little bit more tight. Maybe you're not quite in the same mindset, right, of
Mm-hmm.
playing a little bit as freely and as loosely as you did in Dallas. And I think as a team, you probably saw that a little bit from Green Bay, not just Jordan Love, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but overall, man, that was an impressive 2 games in the playoffs.
It was. It really was. And I thought I was going to get like a Kirk Cousins moment out of, Jordan Love saying, "How you like me now?"
Yeah,
Like,
right,
hey,
like that.
just like you said, Rodgers owned us and I go into Dallas. Well, look what I did. I beat this team by, could have been 30 points. There's 21 charity points in the fourth quarter given up. But, that's like how you like me now. I thought it was going to Kirk Cousins moment there, but sky's the limit for this kid. Future's bright for this kid. I'm just glad that Matt LaFleur is staying with them and the OC is going to be there as well. That's a good situation for a young. I still call him a rookie in many ways. Last year was it was a bull crap year, with what he had. They're thrown into the wolves, and especially this year too. Half the wide receivers left them. You're not sure, do they want me or am I the future? What am I? But I think this kid's great. Now, sky's the limit for this kid. Now we'll see what he really does. Now all eyes are on him, Bill. So we know what he can do. Now it's time to live up to your potential 100%.
Yeah, and I talked about the sophomore slump for CJ Stroud. I think that's the only difference, though, is that we kind of look at Jordan Love as a rookie, but he's not. He's been in the league. He's been on he's, you know what I'm saying? It's not his first season. Been there.
Exactly.
He knows what it's like. He's been through. So I think if you see a fall off from him, that's not good.
No,
you
definitely
don't want to see a sophomore slump from Jordan Love. You want to see him build significantly going.
With him,
go out and do something and get him to help him build, bring some extra talent around him, especially you see what Aaron Jones is back to being, he who is him. That guy is like, okay, we remind us about what running backs can and really shouldn't be in the NFL still. There's just not a lot of guys built like him anymore.
Agree 100%. Yeah. It's like you said with the verbiage. I mean, he has no excuses right now. There is no sophomore slump for this kid. We've all seen what you can do. Just the only thing that I can say for the Green Bay is go out and get a kid a couple weapons. Get him, Romeo Dobbs is his number 1 wide receiver. Christian Watson only got 1 ball this week. They do have good wide receivers, but you got to give the kid weapons, to go out there and win these games. But, I'll just get into a couple comments here real quick. Niners Fable Fantasy says, what jersey should I rock on Sunday? The red alternative jersey, the one that wore on Christmas, which the player needs the most support right now, Debo or Purdy? What do you think? What jersey should he wear first?
Did you say jersey or toilet paper? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, Christmas. I don't know. Go with the holiday selection.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's good. You know what? Go with Purdy. Go with Purdy, man. Go with the flavor of the month, right? Everyone's loving Brock Purdy. Go with him, and he needs that support. I mean, because we don't know that Debo's going to play, right?
Yeah, he's still questionable. I mean, I did see him today in practice. He was running around, limited practice. They're saying limited, but he is running full routes and everything like that. But it's a lot of eye candy to me right now. It's cat and mouse game. Like, hey, Phil, I know you're watching on Twitter. You're seeing on NFL what I'm doing here. So, hey, Debo, go out and run a couple routes. Just run a couple routes for me real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, you never want to take your pieces off the chessboard before you have to.
Exactly.
You never want to do that. So
100%. Yeah. Well, let's talk about another game here. What game would you like to talk about? How about we talk about your select? What game you want to talk about before we get into it? We had 4 games last week, so what game you want to talk about?
We can rip the band-aid off, man. Let's go ahead and jump into that Bucks and Lions game.
Yeah, I thought you would go there. That's why I just let you have it on that one. How do you feel about that, man?
Man, I feel mixed bag, really, because I kind of feel like as a Packers fan, as a Houston fan, oh man, look, okay, we got something to build on. We're excited about. The Bucks overachieved to a lot of people. For me, I'm not that surprised. I still feel like they kind of underachieved this season.
Wow, okay.
Truly. They left a lot of points on the table. They left a couple of games on the table.
Agreed.
And a lot of that to me came down to coaching.
Yeah.
All right. And so when you go into this Lions game, and to me, that was the difference, was coaching. I know Baker had the 2 picks, and really they were both on him. The first one comes off of Mike Evans' hands, but that was not the right throw for Baker to get that ball to Evans. If that ball was thrown just a little bit differently, That's a completion. It's not deflected and then a pick. And then the one in the end zone, that's on him, but it was a choice that he had. He had another outlet there, Rashid White out in the flat. And if he gets that, it's an easy completion, a first down, and it's moving the chain. So those are kind of on Baker, but at the same time, I feel like Canales didn't do a great job of being able to recognize where the pressure was, and Rashid White was a bit of a liability, and so is Edmonds in the pass rush.
Yeah,
there were 2 or 3 plays specifically where Rashad White missed his assignment as a rookie, and it cost the Bucks on two drives specifically, and then a couple of plays. And then I think Baker didn't recognize some coverages that they were bringing, because I don't know that they identified that and were ready for that throughout the week. So how prepared was he to identify it? You know what I mean? Like, sure, as a quarterback, you should be able to read defenses and this and that, but a lot of that also has to do with scheming and preparation throughout the week, what you're looking at and what you're practicing for, right? And so if you're not identifying that throughout the week, and then suddenly they come with it, and then you're not, what we talked about earlier, making adjustments, then that's what's going to cost you games. And that's really what happened, is that they didn't really make the adjustments in the second half to also, take care of that pressure. And then once Jamel Dean went down for the Bucks, that was about it. Like, because the defense was doing what it had to do. The offense was doing just enough to stay in it. They had that awesome drive at the end of the second half to tie it up, going in the second half, getting the ball back, looking for a 2-for-1, right? And they were in that game. And then as soon as Dean went down, Jared Goff started targeting that side, and that was all she wrote. Back-to-back tutties, and then Todd Bowles kind of losing his guts, not going for it on fourth down, which I thought was a very makeable thing, going for 2 instead of just kicking the extra point, which I thought was a very unwise move.
Yeah.
And a little bit of game management still from him, I question. There's all the talk about not using the timeout at the end, which I'm not as big of a I don't have a big deal with it if they're at the end of the game. My problem is, like, I don't like that it's still on the table to even be used there.
I like how you said that. Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's my thing. Like, and there's something in Tampa, like, being the insider here, that's been a problem all year long with Todd Bowles, is his misuse of timeouts and kind of not managing the game clock. I will say, though, if you told me at the end of the season, or if you told me in week 1 at the end of the season that he would have kind of won me over and I'd be okay with him as the head coach going to next season, I would have probably laughed myself to death. But as I sit here now, I feel okay with him. He's managed to show a little bit of character, a little bit of life, and a little bit of more football coach personality here in the last 2 weeks of the season and here in the playoffs, especially the way he handled that reporter. We talked about it before.
Yes.
My wife hadn't seen it. We sat here for like 15 minutes last night just watching it over and going frame by frame, watching his face as she's asking and like his whole reaction. And like, there's a lot to like about this guy.
Yeah.
If he can feel confident, I think, and then it's his team. I think a lot of OCs were questioning going to Tampa and what it would look like here this year as the OC, not having a quarterback other than Trask on the roster.
Yeah.
I think if you could figure out a way to get Baker signed, and I think I haven't seen anything confirmed outside of, but there's rumors I saw that maybe the OC from the Rams is going to be the guy in Tampa, which they gelled really well in his short stint out there last season. So
yeah, he put him in position that one game to solidify a nice game on Monday Night Football. So that might be a good move for him. I just want him to get a contract. I think he well deserves that contract first and foremost. He's a journeyman. I don't want to say journeyman in the wrong disregards. He's been in the wrong places with the wrong head coaches and the wrong OCs. I'll put it that way. If he would have been. If he would have been with one person his whole career, it might have been a different story there. Verbiage is something that, we speak a certain language here. If someone else hops on, he speaks a different language. Phil, you and I are going to look at him like, what the hell is he saying? That's exactly as a quarterback sees the whole, terminology. But
dialect and slang, they could still be talking English, but it's like, okay, we sit here, we're American, then we get a couple blokes on here from Australia, then we get a couple dudes on here from Wales, and then a couple of Irishmen. and none of us are going to understand each other. We're going to know that we're all basically talking English, but we're not going to be able to communicate.
Exactly. A couple comments real quick. Katie, my fiance, says hello, Katie. Also, Eileen checking in. What's going on, Eileen? Eileen's one of my biggest fans. She's a Jets fan as well, so she feels, it's she's just watching football right now. Same thing we are too, but she's watched that since week 3, with that philosophy. But but the other thing I want to say about this game here, you're right. Baker Mayfield, that one tip pass that he did have Rashad Evans in the open flat there. Sometimes you got to take that check down, to move the sticks and keep the sticks moving there. But that last one in the end zone, he forced that one. That was a forced turnover to me. I think check down is always your best friend, man. Running backs, and the biggest thing you said too, running backs not picking up block assignments, man. That's huge in this NFL here. We always talk about that blind side left tackle. He's your best friend. But you know what? Your running back, man, he could be your best man at your wedding too. He solidifies that offensive line, the shift movements, the pickup blitz, the hot blitz. He picks that up. And I tell you what, there's a couple times that White got lit up a couple times, just let him right through there. It looked like he was a deer in headlights. He didn't know which way to go. And I don't know if that was, a Baker saying, hey, I didn't pick up the blitz assignment here. I didn't check you down. I didn't move you in the right position, shift down, shift left, whatever. I don't know, but it's all called a learning thing, man. This year, kudos to this team. They played well, Phil. No disregards to this team. I just want Baker to get a huge contract, because I think the guy deserves it, But once again, the OC leaves, a new OC comes in, so we don't know. Baker's got to be feeling like, oh, shit. Not again.
Yeah, I think there's a couple ways that they can play this as the Bucs, and I think Jason Light has done a really good job as the GM around here and communicating with his players. And that's the one thing I will say is that, and I definitely want to talk about the Lions and what Dan did and what Jared and what the Lions did, because they deserve really the main talk here, not just the Bucs, because I'm a Bucs fan, but I will say, Jason Light had to have come into the season thinking that he was going to be selling this summer, thinking about rebuilding this summer.
Yeah.
Especially with Mike Evans, you got Wirfs, you got Levante David, we got Winfield Jr. Those guys were all free agents, right? Now that Baker has come in, if you can sit down as a GM with Baker and be like, look, let's go, and Todd Bowles, right? And have like a little brain trust, a little mastermind. And be like, all right, let's go find an OC that fits all 3 of our styles.
Yeah.
And let's pitch him on coming in here for at least a 3 or 4 year plan. All right. Maybe we get hot, maybe we catch fire, but let's not go jump ship for another job. Let's go show what we can do as a group for 4 years, 4-year plan. After that, we'll see what happens. Right. And I think if you can approach that way, I think you can get Baker to sign. I think you can get Evans back. I think you can make it work with the cap. They lose a lot of that dead cap going into next year. So yeah, I mean, that's what we want to see. We want to see, Jason Light sit down and say, okay, Baker's first, because now we can build around Baker. We know we got a guy that can get Mike Evans the ball, so now we need to get Mike Evans back. Before, we didn't know. We didn't know if we would just be wasting money. You're not wasting money on Mike Evans because of who he is. I mean, that 10,000 or 10 1,000 yard seasons, 1,400 yards this year. I mean, how many times he's gone over 1,200 yards, not just 1,000. You know what I mean? That guy is it. So now you have a reason to pay him. Now he has a reason to stay, even knowing that he has someone that can get him the ball.
So I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to build on his foundation, going on and get that, that voice in the head, something that he's familiar with. And just like you said, if they get that OC, out there in LA, that'd be fine with it. He's worked with before. It tells you something that, hey, you know what? You're only here for 5 days and you went out and had the game of your life on Monday Night Football. We put you in a position to, you know what? We know what you can do. Go on and show us what we think you can't do. And he did that. And I think this team is built for the future. I really do. I think that the 3 words that I would say, on this team. The 3 words that I would like to hear in that locker room, like the closed meeting there, the trustees would be, let's run it back. Let's stay together and run it back one more time. Let's do it again. Nobody thought we would be here, so let's go out and run it back, and let's climb the mountain together. Let's stay this Evans. Let's all stay here. You know what I can do, so you know what I can do. Let's run it back. But let's talk about the Lions.
In Tampa, man, no state tax here, and there's a history of our local superstars loving being here, retiring here, and having a different type of loyalty to this fan base and this market than some other teams and other fan bases and markets enjoy. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, let's talk about the Lions, man, because they played their game to a T, and they took advantage of all the things that the Buccaneers had troubles doing all season when they got bogged down. And the Bucs didn't stick to the run. They ran well, but they didn't stick to it. They weren't able to. The Lions came with pressure. They came consistently, and Jared Goff played a perfect game.
He did. I mean, you look at his stats. I mean, 30 for 43, 287, 2 TDs. The biggest thing, no picks, of course, there. Only sacked twice. He threw the ball away when he had to. But the one thing, that I give him credit for, they took the Bucs out of their game plan, number one. I thought in the playoff we talked about this, but you got to run the ball consistently. If you don't have you have a bad game, you can't abandon that run. You got to do this. This game being an 8-point game here could have been a little bit different, a lot closer than we know the score to what we see here. But to me, it was just the Bucs were taken out of their game plan, and I credit the defense with the Lions here. I don't know what it is about Dan Campbell, man. I think. To me, this dude, man, even though I'm not playing, I want to run through a wall when I see this guy on the sidelines, just the way he interacts with his players. What I tell my players is short-term memory. If you throw a bad ball, you fumble the ball, short-term memory. That's what I see Dan Campbell going out there with every player and say, hey, next play, we got your back. You have 52 other guys on this team. We're going to get you back in this game. We're going to let you have the chance to go out and win this game. But the one thing I can say is the defense stepped up on that last drive there. 2 sacks in that last series for the Detroit Lions. Aiden Hutchinson, they put him in positions. But once again, was it just a clear misread on, the Tampa Bay Bucs? What did you see with that?
I think it's a little bit of both. Did a great job on the defensive side of the ball for the Lions of creating mismatches. And it was very funny to me because it was almost like they took a play out of a page out of Todd Bowles' playbook defensively to stop Baker and make him uncomfortable. And on the other side of the field, Todd Bowles could not get pressure on Jared Goff at all.
Yeah.
And that was really, I think that's the difference in this game, is that the Detroit's defense was able to affect Baker, affect Dave Canales, affect their game plan, and Todd Bowles and his defense was not able to do the same for Jared Goff. He looked way too comfortable. He's good against pressure. There was no pressure, Those 2 sacks were not really pressure sacks. They were covered sacks.
Exactly.
So, he was way too comfortable for that entire game. And that being said, I will still say that if it wasn't for Dean going down, I don't this still could have been a Buccaneers win. So as great as Detroit played and as clean of a game as Jared Goff had and as great as that defense did, I'm wondering what it's going to look like this week going into San Francisco.
Yeah, it's going to be a different animal. What we talked about, Phil, we talked about, bread and butter plays, basically. Montgomery's that pounder in the middle. 10 carries, 33 yards. He basically shut him down the entire game there. 3 yards a carry, which is, the NFL average, but we know he can do a little bit more with his offensive line. Like you said, they weren't getting pressure on Goff, so that tells you the lanes were open. But the one thing, they put Jahmyr Gibbs in position to get outside the tackles, man.
Dynamic.
That's the thing. It's dynamic. They put him outside in space, and he's a space eater. Once he gets space, that second level's wide open to him. And you know what? You're one-on-one. If you can make the tackle, you make the tackle. But hats off to Detroit. They put him in position to get him off tackle, get him outside. And that's doing your homework, man. I hate saying that word, doing your homework, but credit to Detroit, man. They opened the space up and they got him out there. 9 carries, 74 yards, 8.2 on the ground, 1 TD, had 1 scamper of 31. But man, hats off to him, man. They played really well good.
For absolutely. And Todd Bowles, we talked about a lot. You got to dance with the one what brung you, right? Going into this week and scheming. Okay, got to do this, but you got to still do what you do. Todd Bowles didn't. he once again kind of changed, and I saw this multiple times this year when he kind of got two in his head and started playing a little bit more zone and started trying to create pressure in less traditional ways that he's known for. It wasn't effective. And the defense and the offense suffered because then suddenly they don't have the opportunity to be on the field as much because then the defense can't get off the field and then the rhythm and they can't play complementary football, which we talk about how much in this league you've got to be complementary between the offense and the defense. They have to have styles that work together. And Todd Bowles' defense aren't designed to necessarily be on the field a lot. So they're designed to create pressure. They're designed to create 3 and outs. They're designed to create, long yardage situations for the offense. So when they're not doing that, then that puts the offense in situations where maybe they're playing from behind or they're playing for long fields. The field position game isn't necessarily in their favor, things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, I wonder what happens with this Detroit Lions team going out to San Francisco, no longer having the home field advantage, no longer feeling so much like the Cinderella story, right? Because now it's like, okay, everyone's like on your bandwagon whenever you win in week 1. Then you do in the first week, but then you beat the Bucks. Oh, well, that's a good story because they're just upstarts and they overachieved anyway. So you really should have done that. And no one, like I said, is really looking as deeply into that game as I think they should be. Right. How that could have been minus maybe one injury for the Bucks, right? So it ain't the same old sandwich that you've been eating the last couple weeks. All right. This is a completely different meal that you're about to go walk into. And as much as the Niners struggled, I think that you got to see something almost like we saw from the Ravens last week. They got to come out and make a statement, and I think that team can do it. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a different, this is a different kind of hoagie we're getting into. You're getting that just a ham and cheese here. You're getting, a triple meat, with all the ingredients, all the toppings up here. But the last thing I want to say is we do have one more game to talk about, of course. But before we get to the other games here, let's talk about this Buffalo game and the Chiefs game, man. Wow, all I can say is wide right again.
Yeah,
wow.
I don't know, man. Like it felt like, to me, I felt like this was Buffalo's game to lose.
Yeah,
from the very beginning, right? It was close, but it still felt like punch counter punch. It was Josh Allen's time to finally be able to come out, and no matter what Patty was doing, Josh Allen was going to come out and do it better. And then that fourth quarter came around, and what happened?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, his number wise, 26 for 32, 186, 1 TD. Josh Allen was more of a ground guy this game. Of course, we know what Josh Allen can do on the ground. 12 carries, 72, leading rusher with 2 TDs. Of course, in that first half, I'm sitting there thinking like, oh man, Josh Allen is on a mission this game. He's running the ball. He don't care about pain. He don't care about anything. He's running the ball. He's going to win this game. But wow, tale of two halves, what the hell happened here? Is that just more Spags saying, what? Hey, we'll let Josh Allen run the ball here. We'll let him be that guy. But when you don't look Diggs' way, you look at Diggs here, 8 looks, only 3 catches, 21 yards for your all-pro, all-universe wide receiver here. Your tight end's the leading catcher for 45 yards, Dalton Kincaid. I don't know what – do I give more credit to Spags and the Chiefs here, or do I just say, Josh Allen, you're Josh Allen. We know what you are now.
It's hard not to go with we know what you are now, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just almost the exact same thing we're talking about with Lamar Jackson. Yeah. Right? Whenever you're a quarterback and you have to rely on your feet more than your arm to win games, I don't know how sustainable that is in the playoffs. I just don't know. We've seen it. How many times have we really seen a quarterback built that way and play that way be sustainable and win? Freaking one of them, and he still, and listen, that's the thing about Patty Mahomes, he still isn't really a running quarterback.
Exactly, right.
He does crazy shit that blows your mind, all right? but he only really carried 5 carries, 15 yards in this game.
Yeah,
his feet weren't the impact. It was what he did with his arm in the pocket. It was what he did when the chips were against, on the table, back against the wall, and it all came down to it. And if the Bills get in the end zone, then wide right isn't even a freaking issue.
exactly. Right? Exactly. If you get in there, hey, take away that thought of you, kicking the field goal here, wide right, wide, whatever you want to call that one there. But I like how you said that. We talk about Josh Allen. Yes, he can beat you with his legs. You look at these other quarterbacks. What quarterback has it, running ability versus that arm ability? There really isn't one. We look at Kyler Murray, who can run the hell out of the ball. We look at Jalen Hurts. Right now, he can't do both. You take away the running game, the arm's not there. You look at Josh Allen, same thing here. Going back to when he came out of Wyoming, I remember watching this draft. I was like, wow, this kid's not going to be that great. Everybody said he has the strongest arm that's anyone's ever seen, except for a Jamarcus Russell. And he became, we all don't, not even getting into that guy, but
cautionary toe.
Yeah, exactly. But everybody talked about how big this arm was, coming out of Wyoming. Yeah, you can throw the ball downfield, but to me, he is just like Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson is that different kind of animal where we know what he's going to do. Josh Allen, you have the arm ability here, man. Use it. To me, he's a quarterback that just wants to run first. Now I look at Stephon Diggs, all the bullshit he said, like maybe he's not the QB. He doesn't look my way. I'm open. He doesn't look our wide receivers' way. He looks to run first. Now I'm starting to see those wide receivers saying, you know what? It was kind of damn truthful. Seeing what you're talking about, hearing what you're talking about, and then seeing at these games where some of those wide receivers were all open, man, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it comes to like you really pretty much hit the nail on the head, right? Like you could talk about it again and again and again, but when your instinct is to run, you're not going through your progressions all the way.
Yeah.
You're simply not going to.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Aikman has probably said this a couple times. Some of the other great quarterbacks that are now commentators have said this, that when you're out there, generally you have 3-4 options, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going through your reads, you're going through your progressions, right? Yeah. When you're a running quarterback, by the time you get to your second option, your second read progression, your next option is run.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking to run on your third. You're not looking to that tight end. You're not to your running back or in the flat or anything else like that. Or you're not even trying to look somebody off to maybe go back to your first option, right? You're okay. 1, 2, run.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we see that a little bit too much. And I mean, you still look at the fact that they got the ball to James Cook 18 times, but he's only averaged 3.39 yards a carry.
Yeah.
So you got to give up something to the Chiefs defense in that as well, right? Okay, maybe Josh Allen does go out there and run and make his plays with the feet, but he'll be the only one that beats us on the
ground. Agree.
And I still think that Buffalo could go and do more for him on the offense, though. Stephon Diggs is not enough in this league, I think, to go out there and be consistent on the offensive side of the ball. And to be fair, Dawson Knox wasn't necessarily himself all season long, so you miss that guy who, him and Josh Allen have an unconscious connection with each other. So
yeah,
but again, to me, that's excuses whenever you're a team like the Buffalo Bills and you're a guy like Josh Allen and the hype is what it is and the train is what it is, and you continue to go off the tracks in this exact same game every single season, and you're the Bills franchise who has the same freaking history of this close and not getting there, right?
Yeah. It's going back to history. 4 straight Super Bowls, not winning any of those there. That's how it dates back. But just like you said, the foundation's set. No more excuses, man. You got a quarterback that you're willing to give top dollar elite money to. You got an all-pro wide receiver. You got Dawson Knox, who didn't play a great year this year, banged up. You went and got Dalton Kincaid, a great tight end too. You need some damn help. The writing's on the wall to go out and get another wide receiver. That this way, you know what? One more year. Give me one more weapon. If it's not said and done after this year, Josh, you know what? Everybody was right when you came out of Wyoming. You're a one-hit wonder. You're a leg guy. That's all you are. it's like being in the gym and you only do leg squats every day. You don't work out on your arms. That's what it's like with him. But credit to Kansas City, man. I tell you what, it's
Andy
so
Reid.
special. Yeah, it's special.
But Wilford Brimley himself, he knows what's going on, bro. That guy is a good coach.
Yeah.
And I still wonder, I think I mentioned this, last week before, I wonder if this is his last season out there. Because if not, there's a good chance they lose Eric Bieniemy after this year. Like I'm kind of surprised he's not interviewing a little bit more with some of these opportunities, and I wonder if that's why.
Yeah,
he was all the talk last year, even the year before, like the last 2 years. He's the darling of the league as far as coordinators waiting to ascend to that head coach level, and his name has been surprisingly off all of these lists when it comes to all these openings that we've seen. And now we've seen that Arizona and Carolina have their guys. So if Eric Bieniemy isn't going anywhere this year, then I wonder if that's because, a la the Patriots, there's some kind of a succession plan in place for him to stay there and take over.
Agree.
And he's not getting any younger. He's got plenty of family things that he's had to deal with over his years as a coach. We all know all the things he had to do with in Philadelphia, and then
his son and all that stuff. Yeah, with his son personal lives,
right, exactly. So I wonder how much more he has there. He's proven it all. I mean, he did what he did in Philly. People didn't give. I don't think he got enough credit there, and I don't think he had quite the weapons everyone thought he did.
True.
And he went to Cincinnati or Kansas City, and we're talking dynastic.
Yeah, dynasty built, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we can keep him out of
championship game again.
Yeah, I think if we can keep him out of cold weather and keep the icicles off his beard there, I think he might stay another year there, Phil. We got to keep him in. Get an endorsement for Cheeseburger Paradise or something. Make him happy. Give him all that out there. But I think honestly, if they win this year, I think if they win this year, I think he does come back for another 2 or 3 years. I think he it's in his mind to, like, all the argues out there, the GOAT, Belichick versus maybe Andy Reid now. You think about that. I think it plays into some coach's head. I mean, I tell you what, if I got 3 Super Bowls or 4 Super Bowls and I know this dude has 6 and 7, I might stay a couple more years with a solid team with a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, because this year, you look at the roster, this isn't the stacked roster that they've had the last 2 or 3 years winning a Super Bowl. This is the overachieving roster. I look at it, So I think, like, what, hey, all I'm really missing is a true number one wide receiver to complement Kelsey. Why not? Let's just do it all again. We're at the pinnacle. Let's stay there. Nothing's unachievable with this team. So I think he does come back. But this year's going to tell me a little bit how he plays in this game here, getting to the Super Bowl. But all right, now you're ready to move on to the championship weekend here, Phil. Where do you want to start? You want to start with the first game here, Baltimore? Or you want to stay in our division, our conference, and go NFC? Where do you want to go?
Now let's go ahead, and we're talking about the Chiefs. Let's roll it right into
let's do it.
Baltimore and Kansas City here.
Well, the line is 4.5. The over/under is 44.5 here. Playing in Baltimore. I'm not sure what the weather is going to be. I got a couple people in Philly said it's really nice out there. Good forecast. I think it's going to be like in the 40s to 50s this weekend coming up. So that's not going to play a factor. Both teams do play in the cold. Of course, they're used to it. Of course, Kansas City has the advantage there. But man, this is what I call a chess match. Spagnolia versus Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson versus that defense of Kansas City. And Kansas City's defense is a sleeper defense. They're sleeping. And people overlook this defense. But, man, the way they've been playing, Phil, they know how to play as a team here. They take away the best option on your team, make you beat you other ways. And I tell you what, they let Josh Allen be Josh Allen. But then when time came down, playoff football, fourth quarter, it's a different story here. And that's all coaching, Spags, Andy Reid. It's something. How do you feel?
I mean, it's very much like Josh Allen. Who's going to come in and dethrone Patty Mahomes as the king of the AFC? We've been waiting for Josh Allen to do it. He hasn't done it. Now, well, it's either him or Lamar Jackson, one of the two. We keep waiting for these two guys to prove that they can go and play quarterback as well or better than Pat Mahomes. And nobody has done it yet. So I gotta play the hand that I'm dealt, and that is Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes going into Baltimore and winning this game and going back to the Super Bowl.
I don't disagree with you. On my other show, I did take Baltimore. The way Baltimore's playing right now, there's a different breed of a quarterback in Lamar Jackson. We've seen people try to contain him. You can contain him, but you can't stop him. We know he's going to get his yards. And if he can put together a game, and I think Harbaugh having his week here, he's going to put together a game here to come up with a scheme to look at the checkdowns. And plus the benefiting factor too is Mark Andrews is coming back this week too. Definitely coming back here. Number one target. I think that opens up a little bit more. Zay Flowers on the outside. You're going to have to bring an extra guy down and control Mark Andrews. So I think Baltimore will win this game. But just like Michael Kaepernick says, KC is getting hot right now at the right time. Going back to Mahomes, what you said there, Phil, you got to knock the kid off the pedestal first. He's got the crown. He's wearing the Burger King, crown all of a sudden here. He's got it for the last 6 years. But my thing is this. Patrick Mahomes, we all talk about him not being a road warrior. God, you go into Buffalo, man. You win a game there, your first game on the road here. You win that game. Not the best game in the world, but you did what you have to do to win the game. Now you're going to Baltimore, another road game here. But the biggest thing is Kansas City was not even picked to get this far right now with the way they played, losing how the games they played, getting out at the right time. We talked about wide receivers can't catch a damn ball. Well, this week, all of a sudden, I don't know what they're wearing, stickums on their gloves or something. They're catching everything out there under the sun, a couple of drop balls here and there. But I want to go with the hot team here, Phil, but I'm going to go Baltimore here. Lamar has something to prove. He has to prove me wrong. We know what Patrick Mahomes is, but I'm going to go Baltimore this week, but I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be, I wrote down I wrote down 31-29 or 31-28 right in that area there. But man, I want to see Lamar get his first, win here and go to the Super Bowl. I'd like to see that, of course, but I want to see someone really like Mahomes stay on top of the world, man, prove people wrong, because the guy plays the game right, man. Just like you said, he doesn't run the ball his first read. He keeps plays alive. We see these magic passes that he does. That to me, I coach up here and I say, keep your eyes downfield. This is what this dude does automatically. The run is the last thing he wants to do. He'd rather throw the ball for 1 yard than ran for 3 yards is the way he is. Up Absolutely. Here we do a drill, Phil, where I'm the OC and I have a clock in my head. We do a 5-step drop on most classes, 3-step drop. That first step, your back foot, is your check and read 1. If that linebacker comes up, he got the slant, I can go there real quick. Number 2 is we go X, Y, and Z, tight ends Y, and then we call it a flanker. We call it F-back coming out of the backfield too. So one of my coaches standing in the backfield with his hands behind his back, and he has 2 flags, a little stop sign basically, a red and green one. If he puts up the red, you better check off and go to progression 3. We do that constantly. That builds a timing in your head. Mahomes just has that eyes in the back of his head. He has the mentality of everything. So I want to go Kansas City, but I am going to go Baltimore here. I'm going to go Baltimore this week.
Yeah, I think that, okay, as much as I've been waiting for Lamar and Josh to prove something,
yeah.
I've been waiting for Patrick Mahomes to prove that he's not
human.
No, that he is human. That he is, that he is just, it's Andy Reid, or it's Travis Kelce, or it's Tyreek Hill, or it's blah, 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 blah. Nope.
Yeah.
It ain't that.
It's true.
Everybody, I got news for you. Patty Mahomes is him. He is he. That is that guy right now in the NFL. There ain't nobody playing that QB position that is better than that guy.
Agree.
And we could sit here and we could talk about it. We could have conjecture and project what it's going to look like 10, 12, 13 years down the road when he's all done and who the GOAT's going to be then. But I'm telling you right now, Tom Brady better enjoy it while it lasts, because I keep waiting for this kid to fall. And he might stumble like this season. He might stumble. That kid doesn't go down.
Yeah.
And then he keeps his feet, and boom, all of a sudden, what do you know? He didn't mean to, but now that's a 35-yard gain, and now he's in the red zone. And before you look at it, Travis Kelce's in there, and then somehow they get the ball back, and now you're done by 14. You didn't even know what happened because it's been struggling, and he still only has 149 yards in the game.
Exactly.
Right?
That's a great point.
You know
You
what I'm
said.
saying?
Yeah,
You know what
that's
I
a
mean?
great
So,
point. Yep.
so
You know,
it's just something about the way this Chiefs team has played, has gotten through it. You learn different ways to win whenever you're a dynastic team like the way they have been. You don't get it done the same way every year. I could tell you about, like, you look over my shoulder, we see lightning bolts. I know what it looks like to see a team that wins it multiple ways and gets there, gets the job done, not the same way every year, but a new
agree.
way every
Agree.
year. It's a
Yeah.
new way every year.
Yeah.
So, it's the same pieces. This is like a chess game, right? We talk about how close it is when you're talking about offensive coordinating, defensive coordinating, and scheming and all that. It's the same pieces every damn time you play the game, but it's not the same strategy necessarily. You know what I mean? You have your style, you have your way you look at the game. No one's going to change the way they perceive things. Like, that's just the way you look at the world. But things change. You got to figure out a way to win every time you get on that playing field. And the Chiefs continue to show, and Patrick Mahomes continues to show he can do it. And no one, it's very, very hard to knock that guy off when he gets to going in the playoffs.
And that's the great thing you said about that. Who would have thought a kid from Texas Tech coming in here, the Red Raiders, coming in here, lighting up the world, exactly, lighting up the world here and coming in here. And we talk, I do want to revisit this in 12 years, Phil. We'll talk about that GOAT situation. That's a great topic right there. But you know what? I'll just say this, man. Brady didn't lights out the first, couple years in his league as well. But I tell you what, Patrick Mahomes came out like Usain Bolt. Has he missed the AFC Championship game? No, he hasn't. He's been there, done that. He can't win, without a Bieniemy as the OC. Well, he's gone. Look what happened now. You can't win without a Tyreek Hill, a stud wide receiver. Well, look at him now. He has garbage wide receivers. He had to bring in Juju Schuster last year as a true back. Miko Hardman. These are not big names here. They're not big names as wide receivers, And what has he done?
Scantling was leading wide receiver in this last game. Well, when's the last time you heard that guy's name?
Exactly. A rookie, Rashid Rice, But it's all about putting your quarterback in a position where, I know what you could do, Phil. I'm going to put you in position to win. But you know what? The benefiting factor is I know what you can do, but damn, you're Patrick Mahomes. You're Patrick freaking Mahomes.
And here's I'm big on language. Words mean things for a reason. They're definitions, right? Okay. And you say, oh, you put someone in a position to win. I prefer, when you talk about quarterbacks, put them in a position to lead.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, your captains, and they put them in a position to lead. Don't put them in a position to win. I feel like winners win all the time.
That's true.
If you put them on their own, they're going to win. When you talk about leading other people, being an example, being a captain, you got to put them in a position to be able to lead the way they are leaders, right? You can't dictate their leadership qualities. You have to see it, harness it, foster it, and let that be what leads the way. It's who they are, especially in a team environment, right? Whether it doesn't matter if it's sports or work or community or whatever. That's what you have to do when you see and recognize your leaders. You got to put them in a position to lead. And I think that's what Andy Reid is very good at doing. And I think that's what they've done a good job in Kansas City, is that every time it comes down to it, Patrick Mahomes is the leader of that team. And he does it on and off the field. He does it both ways. And hey, I was the first guy to go after him whenever he lost his shit on the referees because of the flag on the offensive offsides, blah, blah, blah. I would have liked to see a little bit more maturity out of him. But the truth is that when it comes, the kid doesn't necessarily know what it's like to lose and to be, so you have to grow. And I saw him grow this year. I saw him learn from that. I've seen him speak on that. And he's like, hey, I don't regret it in the moment because that's who I am and that's how I feel about it. But at the same time, I know that that's not who I have to be. I have to be someone different on the sideline in the future. I can't be that person. And that's what you like to see out of a guy like him, right?
And that's a great statement. Yeah.
That guy can be humble and show humility first. That's, to me, what puts him on an echelon above basically every other quarterback in the NFL.
That's true. Exactly what you said there. With being a leader, the one thing, I did last year, we went 9-2 this year, of course, the last 2 years, but there was one game where my quarterback wasn't having the best game. You know, we won the game, but he didn't have the best game. So I think it was the fourth quarter. You know, I challenged the team. I was like, hey, you know, there's like 4 minutes left. Let's go out and get one more score. And I was like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to drive it down. We got down to like the 18-yard line, you know, last play of the game. I called a timeout and I walked out of the huddle, just walked away. And my quarterback looked at me. He's like, Coach, what do we do? And I was like, figure it out on your own. Lead this team to the end zone. Lead them. And I yelled it. Lead your damn team. You know, you don't have the best game today. Go lead your team. He called a play and got a touchdown. I walked over to him. I was like, guys, we have 34 people on our team. I was like, guys, this is your leader right here. He's going to lead you to the promised land. Follow him. He'll take you. That is Patrick Mahomes. And the one thing I don't know where I see it, Twitter or something, or like an interview, a beat writer asked Patrick Mahomes, you know, how do you feel about this year? Last year you won the Super Bowl. You know, this is before the playoffs even started. You're going on the road here. He's like, losing was the best humility to me this year. I know what we are about. It's being knocked off the pedestal. When you're knocked off the pedestal, you're not the best in the world anymore. Everybody wants your job. Everybody wants to take your position. I'm going to lead this team to the Super Bowl again and criticize. You can criticize me all you want, but after I'm said and done this year, then let's revisit this. Basically what he said. And I'm like, wow, that's a leader to me right there too. You know?
Yeah. What can you say about a guy that just continues to prove in all these different ways that he can get it done? You know, you think that maybe X, Y, or Z is going to come into play and some distractions. You want to talk about distractions this year?
Yeah.
Talk about distractions this year. When's the last time Patrick Mahomes wasn't the biggest story in Kansas City? Before Patrick Mahomes came to Kansas City, he was not. If he was the biggest story in Kansas City, it wasn't for the right reasons, right? It was Tay and her man, whoever he was that plays for. I think he plays football or whatever.
Yeah, I think that guy. Yeah,
whoever that guy is, right? And then it was, is Patrick Mahomes done? Is this it? Have we seen the end of the era? We both, people trying to write him off, hopefully hoping for the demise, right? Praying that they self-inflict because no one else can take them off the mountaintop hardly, right? They have to do it themselves. No one else can do it. So now you look at what he's done. Now you look at some of the ups and downs they had. And I think to me, that's a big question. And it says to some of these guys when they come into the league, no matter where you're drafted, once you get drafted in the NFL, you probably are not used to really losing as an athlete, right? True. Think about the level that these guys play at in order to be drafted, even in 6th, 7th round draft picks, whatever. Think about the level they play at and how especially a quarterback. Okay, especially at the quarterback. How many times we hear, Trevor Lawrence, right? Another guy never lost. He's never lost. Like how that guy's always won championships on every season he played. That's what he did. And then he got to the NFL. Now he has to learn how to lose. It's not about learning how to win or being able to win in the NFL. I don't know if enough people talk about that when players are coming in the NFL. It's not about winning. It's about learning how to lose and still move forward and win in the future, right? Because it's a week-to-week. It's a week-to-week league. It's not like other places where it's like, this game. Like, it's week-to-week. You're not 9 and 8 teams make the playoffs, man. We see it, right? 500 teams. We've seen sub 500 teams make the playoffs in this league before.
7 and 9 quite a few times.
And they've won. They've won in the playoffs. Okay. So it's not just about winning. It's about how you lose and move forward after that and how you can carry yourself through adversity. Patty Mahomes keeps answering those questions, man.
100%.
Right?
100%.
I mean, how they came back after losing to the Bucks in that Super Bowl and how they got dominated.
Yeah. Writing's on the wall. Yeah, they're done. It's pack it up and go home. But that's a great thing you said about learning how to lose. Everybody wants to win.
It's a life
exactly. The great example that you said, Trevor Lawrence coming from Clemson, one loss in his career there, basically. Go back to Deshaun Watson. These guys from Clemson, they didn't know how to lose. You look at these quarterbacks. It's insane that Bryce Young, you talk about him at Alabama, that you don't know how to lose. What does it do to your mentality? Wow, I only lost 2 games in my career in 4 years here, And man, my first 2 games, I get blown out by 40 points. I'm not used to this. The mindset is
From a
different.
culture like Saban creates,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
A culture like Carolina.
Right. Yeah.
Like, which one's the pro organization here? You're asking yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're like, wait a second. Did I just come from the college to pros, or did I go
Yes.
to arena? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
It's like you can think about that.
I'd
Like,
be better than them right now. I don't
yeah,
know.
you're Nick Saban. You're so used to like, well, Bryce, listen, you won the game, but we only won by 30 freaking points, brother. And then in Carolina, you're in the locker room. Hey, we lost by 30, but we got next week. Coach, I'm not used to that.
We got paid. Dude's like not even giving a shit about the W or the L, only the cha-ching dollar signs. In the locker room, in the shower, in the car. Don't give a crap for 3 days later until they're back in the. You know what I'm saying? That's a different thing too, right?
Exactly.
When you come from a program in the college ranks like that, and winners usually don't come from average programs. Even Texas Tech, they have a long-standing tradition there. That's a well-run program there. They have prestige. There's a certain way you carry yourself there. You come to the pros, and not every franchise is that way. It's funny. I'm not trying to go like off on a tangent. Sorry, I try not to. But I was just seeing. I want to say is Chris, I forget his name. He's on the Rich Eisen show. He's like the cohort with Chris.
I haven't watched that in a while, honestly.
But he was talking about how there's no vetting process to be an owner of a football team in the NFL. Like, and how many of them are just passed down? Like, okay, maybe the original owner cared and knew about football and bought it. And now it's on the second or third generation, and these people don't know football, don't care about football. It just happens to be in the family. They don't really care, right? Well, most of the time when it comes to college programs and the big feeders to the NFL, boosters, I'm from Florida, bro. We know what football and college football especially is in the program, and what it is to have big booster programs and to be feeder universities for this league, and what that looks like. And I don't know. I just it's weird when they go to these franchises and suddenly it's like, okay, we're used to a certain level of of professionalism, and then you go to the pros and there's no professionalism, right?
It's a different mindset. I mean, we do the college show. Bill Furman, he actually lives down in Florida, down there right by Lakeland High School, where he's good friends down there. And my kids went to St. Joe's Prep. Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm like,
okay. Yeah, we always talk about it. My kids went to St. Joe's Prep. Started at St. Joe's Prep playing football. Arguably the best team in PA, of course. 7-time state champions in the last 8 years. So we won't talk about that. But they went down. No. But they went down to IMG, and Bill was telling me that, man, down there it's called about college football recruiting. You think that's bad? You talk about high school recruiting here. Not to get off the subject, but he was like, well, they have 4 starting quarterbacks that could play unanimously anywhere in the world right now, the United States. Well, what would it take you to come here? Well, we got this guy. How about we recruit this guy to come here? Even in high school, it's all about recruiting. To me, people have lost their, I want to say, heart to play football. High schools want to win championships. When you get to the pros with the NIL, that messed up everything with college football right now. It's all about the money, what you can do, what sponsorship you can get, who can get the best money here. Phil, hey, you know what? Come on down, man. I got a brand new Mercedes AMG sitting in the driveway for you. Your mom and dad need a house? We'll get you that house. No problem coming down. Oh, this is a high school athlete coming down.
Such booster is a home builder, and you're going to be a sponsor for their business. Oh, such and such booster owns a car dealership. You're going to be a sponsor for their business now, right? Not, and listen, this is a rabbit hole we could go down probably for days. But the fact that Nick Saban stepped away from Alabama, I think, is
tells you something.
To go be a commissioner. I think he's going to be involved in college football, and they're going to look to get some kind of a commissioner or some guy to kind of oversee and help with this NIL, help with the transfer portal, all of that, because it's out of hand now. It's out of. It's like an unregulated free agency in professional sports, basically.
Yeah, I won't say the name, but about 4 weeks ago, we had a agent on the show, College Football Frenzy, which Bill knows. I will say the player, of course. I'm just not going to say the agent's name. I don't want to get any kind of trouble. But the player just got transferred to Ohio State. He knew he was happening. He said, "Please don't mention it. It's coming, but don't mention it right now. I don't want to say anything preoccupied to the families, the players, the organization." But we're still working on the contract. When do you ever hear that terminology? We're working on a college player transferring, working on the contract.
Yeah.
The contract. And then when it was laid out, we seen what he got, a dealership, commitment to this given to him, that given to him. That word contract in college or high school, it shouldn't be there, man. You're playing for an education. There's players out there that can't afford this, people that have all the talent, but can't afford to get in college. And you're giving them money just for that, a booster giving him that check. I don't like that.
Yeah, I've straddled this line for as long as I can remember, especially growing up in Florida and knowing what that's like and seeing it. I mean, what was that movie back in the 90s, The Program?
Oh yeah, and they're like Blue Chips, remember the basketball movie with Shaq and
Shaq and Nolte, but also the college football movie, The Program, which was basically a biography of Florida State in the late 90s, and what it was all about. Not just some of the stuff they were doing off the field, but the way they're paying players and the way it's been done. So I don't necessarily mind that now, and maybe it's being taken out of the back rooms a little bit, right? And it's not so much under the table. Sure. It's been happening anyway. So let's just understand that, okay? We're not gonna stop it from happening. Now we're just bringing more transparency. We're shining a light on it a little bit, but now it's like the Wild West out there, right? Like the great land grab of the 1850s, where just go out there and whoever gets it first, and if you're gonna shoot somebody to get it, you can, right? Let's go out there with your best friend, and we'll agree. You'll get this tract, and I'll get this tract. And as soon as you turn to put your stake, boom, I shot your ass in the back because I'm gonna be more profitable by myself than with you. Like that's what it's like right now. But hopefully, Nick Saban can do something and come in because he cares about the integrity of football. You can hate Alabama all you like. You can be tired of them being great. And it's crazy to me to think it's been 17 years or whatever since 27 years, right? No, since he left the NFL, the Dolphins in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's like 17, 18, somewhere that year. Yeah.
Years, something like that. It's crazy it's been that long, but I was never mad at him for that. Like, hey, if you're a college coach, you want to know what it's like. But then once you get there and you realize that it's so much more politics and so much more about money than it is about necessarily winning and building a program.
Yeah.
I get it. But yeah, he cares so much about the kids. He cares about the players. He cares about the organization, like not just Alabama, but he cares about the integrity of college football as an institution. And hopefully he can do something now that he's not just with Alabama to fix that.
Yeah, I think he will be a commissioner somehow, because his last comment in a neutral way was, the game is changing. The process is changing. It's time to go. That tells you something, writing on the wall when the GOAT says that to you. How many championships he won? I can't even count that high, honestly, Phil. But the one thing, the last subject we'll talk about this is, I was telling my buddy, he was telling me about, he's like, Paul, you really watch National Signing Day for college play, high school players? I'm like, oh yeah, I love watching it. And he's like, I was like, you know what? In 2 to 3 years, we all see the guy with the hats in front of him, like, I choose this college. And I told him, I was jokingly saying this, but I was really truthful about this, Phil. Pretty soon we're going to see the hats. We're not going to see hats anymore. We're going to see car keys. And we're going to see blank checks on the table. That's $1 million. That's $2 million. That's $3 million.
Sponsorship hats, absolutely.
Exactly. I'm taking the $3 million, but you know what? I'm getting the Mercedes Benz here. I'm taking the Lambo here. I'm going to go. I'm taking my payroll account to the Florida State University. They're paying me the most. That's a man. I don't know. I don't even want to talk about
like Saban. That's why we need a guy like Saban, because he wants to change it. He wants to fix it. I think the transfer portal before was very restrictive and very dated and punished players for being good and maybe having the ability to use their talent to get a better opportunity or better education. I think it punished them. But now it punishes universities that don't have the funds and the boosters and it's punishing now the colleges, right? So 100%. You got to find a happy medium.
100%.
And you said, and we'll we've gone way down a tangent on my back. But
I hear it. Well, let's move on to some NFL.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say is I do believe college players necessarily do believe some of them deserve to get paid if these universities are making shit tons of money by bringing in, these whatever. But at the same time, education is an invaluable thing that you are also receiving.
Yeah.
So it's a slippery slope. But if it's been open, it needs to be regulated. It needs to be taken control of. And let's hope the same as the guy to do it.
Yeah, and Johnny Manziel got slapped for an autograph,
Right. Well, Ohio State was Terrell Pryor, right?
Terrell Pryor, the same. Tattooing. Was it tattooing with Terrell Pryor and all that crap?
Free tattoo or something like that, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Tattoo, right?
Exactly. A
Now
free
this guy's
tattoo.
getting millions
Yeah.
and millions of dollars
Exactly.
in endorsements.
Yeah.
Right?
What's going on, Stacey? How you doing? Yeah, so we got one more game,
All right,
Phil. Let's go into this game here. The Detroit Lions, man. San Francisco 49ers here. I'll let you start this because I think we're on the same team here, but I don't think we are going to be because I did predict one team winning this game. I'm going to stay with them. I'm still going to, fight that battle there. But I kind of agree with you. The one thing you started out earlier saying, Detroit has a great ride. They're not at home now. The momentum, everybody is behind you. Now it's time to put up, or shut up. So I don't know. In the last two games, they barely won. They barely against the Rams. They should have lost that game too. Last week, could have lost that game too. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of like leaning off the wagon here, but go ahead.
I'm excited for this game.
I am too.
There's something about the NFC this year that's just a little bit more of that old school hard-nosed feel kind of matchup, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about this game. I think the 49ers are a rough and rugged team. And now you're talking about the number one word associated with the Detroit Lions this year has been grit, right? Grit this. Oh, the Lions grit this, grit that, gritty. Okay. Is it a dance or is it a mascot or is it the Lions modus operandi? All three, but they're going out to San Francisco and they're running into a team that has something to prove after kind of laying a bit of an egg at home against Green Bay and just has so much freaking talent. Christian McCaffrey has shown again how terrible of a franchise Carolina is just in the fact that he's able to stay healthy. And I mean, to me, it's kind of criminal he isn't being talked about for MVP more because it's always a quarterback award these days. But I don't know if you can find a guy that's more valuable to their team than the way he has been, being able to stay healthy, being able to open up opportunities for other guys on that team on the offense, and making Brock Purdy look like basically an MVP because of how he opens up the defense for that quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, talk about the MVP category there. Going to Carolina, the bugaboo was this guy can't stay healthy for 16 games. Well, here you're playing 16 games and you're playing MVP level. So I hate being said that a quarterback is the MVP every year. I hate seeing that. Yes, he is the floor general, but you know what? Brock Purdy's Brock Purdy, but take away Christian McCaffrey off this team, where would they be? You bring in another running back, you bring in anybody out there. I don't think they're going to be arguably the way they are. They will win games, but man, you got a guy that can run off tackle, in between tackles, anywhere you want, catch out of the backfield. This guy is all pro, 3-phase, whatever you want to like in basketball, 3D, just driving, all those. But this guy is that guy. I mean, he is the MVP. But man, I don't know where to go with this game, honestly. I want to say San Francisco, but I'm going to go Detroit. I'm still going to ride on them. But I'm taking both dogs this week in really ways. I'm looking at it. But man, if I'm Detroit, man, I gotta just pin my ears back and keep what's in front of me right now. I got to make this game a possession game, field possession game, because this is the type of game where the Niners can beat you inside, outside, mid-level, deep level, any kind of level they want to beat you at. 3-phase, Kittle can get you there. McCaffrey inside levels anywhere. Debo outside, Ayuk, they can beat you anywhere. But to me, I want to keep that offense off the damn field and keep that defense on the field to get them exhausted. And I don't think Detroit's going to come out in this game and score. If they do, hey, let it be told they do. But what my game plan would be, move the sticks slowly but surely. Take the time off the clock because we know this team can score. Look at last week. They didn't play a great game. A minute and 12 seconds left to go. Drive down the field, boom, score right away. I don't want them on the field. I'm going to play a game where I'm going to try to keep that team off the field as much as I can. Easier said than done, though.
Well, easier said than done because that San Francisco defense is otherworldly.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, look, the Bucs defense was good. They had their moments this season. They did what they had to do against Philadelphia. They looked insane against a depleted Philadelphia offense.
Mm-hmm.
The Lions are not ready for the defense that they're about to go face in San Francisco. That's to me the tale of this game right here. Is yeah, they're gritty. Yes, they have a great story. But two things. Eminem isn't at home in San Fran. This isn't LA. He can't get all his homeboys to come down and be like, hey, come Dr. J and Snoop, let's go pump up my boys. Nah. This is San Fran, bro. Okay. They play a little bit different around here. Eminem isn't welcome. Probably the only part of California where Eminem isn't basically a second son, right?
Right.
So you don't got the Marshall Mathers hype, okay? You don't have the dome. You don't have the sound. You've got a defense that is going to be more dynamic, and one injury or one thing isn't going to make a difference in this game like it did last week with the Bucs. And I also think that when it comes to the other side of the ball, it's much more dynamic of an offense than they have seen against the Rams and the Bucs. When I think both of those teams have talent and options, but they both kind of backed into the playoffs, and they didn't really have an identity coming into the playoffs offensively.
Gotcha.
The Niners have an offensive identity, and we already talked about it.
Yeah.
It's mother, CMC, right?
Yeah.
I'll keep it PG. I'll keep it for work. I'm not gonna, but I'm telling you, it's that dude. It's that dude.
I agree with you. 100%. I mean, the defenses of what they seen last year, not disregarding Tampa Bay, but this is a different breed of animal here. You're going against a poodle versus a pit bull, on both sides of the corners here. You got Bosa, you got Chase Young.
They were puppies. We kept talking about all the rookies on that Bucs team. We call them puppies, and that's great because they're going to go out there and they're going to play hard.
Yeah.
Play hard. You know what dogs do?
Yeah.
Dogs fight.
And the biggest thing, you got two pit bulls at linebacker. You got Greenlaw, you got Fred Warner playing linebacker here. And these guys are north, east, south, and west runners that can do anything all world as well. The back half, the secondary, they're unnamed really. If you really think about what the front seven have, and on the offensive side of the ball, they're no name, but they're playing great too. And I think this week the bookends are going to get pressure on Goff. I took the underdog this week, but smart money tells me, which I will bet this week, I will take the Niners probably about a -4, maybe -5 in that scenario for smart money. And I probably will take Kansas City smart money wise, winning that game outright as well. I want to take the underdog in Baltimore, even though they're not underdogs in a way. Schematically wise, they're underdogs to me, so I will take them as both dogs this week. But I'm going to go Niners, in an outright win here because they're just too strong, man. And what I look at is we use that word, Phil, a lot. House money, man. How far can you go with house money? It's got to end sometime, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean you can. And again, we talk about, I have talked about that level of tier of teams. All right. In the AFC, I think you have two championship quality teams playing there between the Ravens and the Chiefs. Those are both championship quality teams. I'm still not 100% convinced that Detroit it's in the mid-level. They came out of nowhere with Dan Campbell. Unless I believe in them way more than I believe in the Bucs, the Texans, the Rams, the Packers. Even I believe in the Niners or the Lions a lot more. But they're still not where the Niners are.
Agree.
And it comes to pedigree, and sometimes it comes down to pedigree. It comes down to, what's in that locker room experience wise sometimes. And hey, it's any given Sunday. We know what that is. I mean, I try not to keep a record when I pick shit because I'm not great at picking. But history will show that quite vividly that I'm not great at picking games. I'm great about prognosticating and talking, and I can do all that all day long. But when it comes to picking, I'm whatever. But that being said, this is a team that I think the Niners are a 10-headed beast.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the games where you look at both sides of the ball here, top to bottom, 53-man roster. They're elite, superior to anyone in the league, head and shoulders above. And this is a different breed of animal here, the poodle versus the pit bull on both sides of the ball. Veteran, head coach Kyle Shanahan has been there, done that. I got to go with him as well because Dan Campbell is a hell of a damn coach, man. I tell you what, I'll run through a brick wall for this dude. He's bought me into the system. I think the players have bought into the system as well. They'll run through the wall too. But, I talked about this on my show, Phil. We'll end the show with this one here. I want to ask you a question with this one. If the game comes down to it, you're down 3 points, okay? And it's 4th and 1, man, at the goal line. Last play of the game. What does Dan Campbell do? Does he kick the field goal, or that son of a bitch going to go for it? What's he going to do? Because his MO, man. I came here to win. I didn't come here to tie and go to extra quarters. I came here to win. What would he do? That to me scares me a little bit.
I think he is still a man of reason. All right.
Yes,
he's a man of passion.
Yes.
Indubitably a man of passion, without question. A man that lets his passion guide him, and a man that inspires me is a person that lives with passion first, right? That being said, he's still also a man that is not an idiot.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
All right, the dude, it's not wild card weekend. All right, it's not. Oh, is it division? Is it home field or is it road? It's not. It's talking about Super Bowl, baby. And if you want to talk about, I bet against, if it comes down to a 3-point game and you're there, right there, and it's 4th and goal, but you're on the 7-yard line, you're kicking that field goal, man, because you believe in your team in the extra. Because rules are different now too, right? Because it's not the same old rules either. So now your team at least gets a bit of a chance. So
everybody gets the possession unless it ends in a touchdown. Yeah,
right.
A little bit different.
So
yeah, I agree with that. I think Dan Campbell, a lot of people, I even joked around with it, but with all honesty, the dude is smart, man. He's an NFL head coach for a reason. I always go for it in my little league here. But I tell you what, if I'm on the line for a Super Bowl, game here to get to the Super Bowl, you're not going to look at me. You don't have to look at me twice and say, don't go for it. Oh, no, don't worry about it. I'm kicking it. Don't worry about that. Yeah. We're definitely doing the right thing. But what kind of score do you see in this game here?
I honestly think that it's going to, the Lions are going to have a hard time necessarily keeping up with the defense that San Francisco, 50, just about 52, the over. I see that. I mean, I could see it being, 35-20. I could see, something like that. I don't think the Lions are going to be shut out by any means. They're a very good team. Jahmyr Gibbs is way too dynamic. Amon St. Brown, you got way too many tools and a lot of talent on that side of the ball. And Hutchinson's going to have his, you can only hope, again, you can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him, right? So he's going to have his impact from the defensive side of the ball, but it's only going to be so much whenever you've got Kittle. We didn't even talk about him, right? We haven't talked about the guy who might even be the best tight end in the league right now, even better than the other guy playing in the other championship game, right?
Oh, the one dating that Tay-Tay?
What's her name?
Tay-Tay, what I heard.
Yeah, Tatas.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the score is going to be. I think the Niners. Yeah, I think the Niners win this game. I'm probably going to go. I think it's going to be like a 34-23 game. I think they do cover the spread here, but I don't think Detroit's going to get shut out. Just like you said, Jahmyr Gibbs is a unique animal, and showing last week, you can run between the tackles, but smart man's going to get Jahmyr Gibbs out in open space. But then again, Fred Warner and Greenlaw, they can go east and west too, and it's a different kind of breed of linebacker here. Something that the Lions don't really see all year long, of course. Yeah. So I got to go Niners, but I'm going to go dogs as well because I want that, that saying, I want to get the dog to win for the money. But smart money says, Niners definitely 100% here. So I'm definitely going to go Niners as well.
Definitely.
Okay.
Foster Covers checks in. You can check if you're a Bears fan, check him out. Does a great Bears podcast every week on YouTube as well. Bears Country Podcast, I believe it is, Foster. Also, he says, Ravens, 49ers, hope Detroit, but watch the refs help KC because of Taylor Swift, billions and billions and billions and billions of fans. My conspiracy theory. I'm out of reach. Can't hear it all of it. What do you think about that? Do you think, okay, let's talk about it real quick. Then we'll end the show with this one here, Phil. We'll end the show here. Do the refs and the NFL, all the big wigs, the money, we already see the logo. The logo is already set for the Super Bowl for the Niners and the Ravens. We already see that, the two colors. We've seen that. Is there any kind of what is your opinion about that? Do the refs want to see, or guided by the NFL, the big heads up there, the eye in the sky, the voice in your head saying, we need that call. We need that call. We need that call. Or Vegas.
Well, okay. The Vegas thing, I don't know, man. I try not, it's a slippery slope, and I try not to think about the integrity of the sport that I love being so flimsy that would be a thing. Right. Like, that being said, I never buy into a conspiracy, but the easiest way to get rid of it, I'll say this, is to get rid of the 15-yard automatic first down penalties.
I hate that.
If you get rid of these game-changing penalties that are basically subjective, right? If you get rid of these type of penalties, then the question is gone. As far as then the referees can't. Because, I mean, you talk about, you could call holding on every play. You could call, which you could. But the whole point is to only call the penalties that impact the game. I don't think enough people understand that as fans, that they're not necessarily supposed to call every call. They're supposed to call game-changing penalties. Like if that hold obviously allowed that running back to hit the hole and then he got a 15-yard gain instead of a 3-yard gain, well, then you throw the penalty flag. If there's a hold on the backside of the play and the guy is already 15 yards down the field and then there's a hold, maybe you don't throw that flag because it didn't really freaking matter in the play, right? It's these offensive pass, or it's these pass interference, roughing the quarterback. A lot of it, unfortunately, seems to be on the defensive side of the ball, how quickly. But at the same time, a hold can be just as detrimental to an offensive drive as a pass interference can be to a defensive drive, right? These are both game-changing penalties that can completely change the game. And until they're less subjective, so either the rules need to be much more black and white and a lot less gray, or the penalties for the infractions need to be changed so they have less consequence and they're less able to dictate outcomes of the game. Do I believe that there's some puppet master that's telling Goodell and everybody else up there, this team wins, that team wins? No. Why? Because the NFL makes stupid fucking money. Doesn't matter who's in the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, dude. It's not like the NBA or the MLB or even the NHL where it matters markets and who's blah, 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 No, it doesn't matter in the NFL. The global sport, any market, any team that's in a market that's in the Super Bowl is going to make a stupid amount of freaking money for the NFL. They don't care I promise you, they don't care about Taylor Swift's billions of fans. Why? Because she was already there for every game of the season. Exactly. They had 18 games. One more doesn't really matter to them. They're not trying to fix it because they have more. You know what would be different is if, suddenly Taylor Swift is the Super Bowl halftime performer, and then Kansas City suddenly has a few calls, and she's now performing, and it's Kansas City's home. They get the bid for the Super Bowl, and then maybe I'm gonna buy into some conspiracy then. They're trying, but look, they don't care. They don't care as much as everyone thinks they do. They make stupid money.
You're 100% right, Phil. No matter what team's in it, I don't care if the Chicago Bears made it, the Carolina Panthers made it. Both teams are still making $1 billion off of this rights right here for endorsements of the whole PR situation. But I want to end this real quick. I did see someone on Twitter jokingly around. He was talking about refs making bad decisions. I hate when refs justify the game in the last 2 minutes of the game. Making a call to a game goes one way or the other by that bogus call on both sides. I've been on the bad side of it and the good side of it. The Detroit game, of course, was a good side. We know about that. The bad side situation, I've been there too. But I did see this guy on Twitter. He said, you know what? I think there is a theory. If somehow, just like you said, Taylor Swift became the Super Bowl halftime show, and also, what if Eminem became the halftime show? They did it together.
Right.
Then if both teams won, then you got to open that question like, how the hell did they both win with bogus calls too? If that was to happen, and it would never happen. But of course, this guy put on there, and this guy got 4 million views.
Now you're opening a whole other can of worms, man. We might have to start doing this a little bit more regularly. I like talking stuff with you, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Anytime, hey, listen, maybe during the off season we'll do something too. There's so many touchy topics out there. Not touchy topics, but topics that are like you debate them. They're great. They're great. Yeah, it's great commentary. Great situations where you can just get some side of view. The NIL deal, that's a situation. The GOAT situation. There's so many situations we can talk about, Phil. So, man, Phil, we got. Are we gonna come on? We're gonna come on next week. Then we got the bye week, but we'll definitely do something. Maybe we can throw out a comment. Have the viewers out there. The viewers out there name a topic, and we'll give our justify about that as well. Maybe we'll do something like that. But hey, Phil, I appreciate you hopping on here, man. An hour and 40 minutes, and it seemed like it's only 5 minutes talking to you, man.
Every time goes
definitely,
by quick.
Definitely. So, Phil, once again, man, where can they find you out there before we get out of here?
You can always find me on Facebook, Shooter in the Stash. That's our page. You can catch me on YouTube, Stash TB, doing some stuff over there. And yeah, man, that's where I'm at.
And also, really quick, Phil, can you tell me about this little product that both, that Matt sponsors both of us? So, once you use our promo code and also throw yours out there as well.
Hey, listen, monkeycoltcoffee.com, OOTB Sports, Stash 10, just going to get you a great discount over there. All of their great coffees, it all goes to a great cause, the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation. Bourbon chocolate chip, my personal favorite. Toasted coconut rum, my wife's favorite. The Sumatran blend, I love that for a nice espresso if you got a good grinder. I mean, they've got you covered. The swag, the tumbler is the best in the game. It keeps your coffee piping hot for days. You can't go wrong with Monkey Colt Coffee. Get over there and see the evolution of flavor infusion coffee.
Definitely. Last but not least, if you need any accident attorney out there, please reach out to my good friend Jason Fine, 1-800-HURT-123, Attorney Big Al. Motor vehicle accident, slip and fall, workman's comp, personal injury claims. 3 convenient locations throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. First in New Jersey, it's going to be Cherry Hill, 3 Greensford Lane, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Also in the great state of PA, Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. In my neck of the woods, Pittsburgh, PA, 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. So if you need an accident lawyer, reach out to him. No recovery, no fee. You mentioned Out of the Box Sports Entertainment. You're guaranteed the rate of 33 and 30%. No recovery, no fee. So make sure you reach out to J Fine Law, 1-800-HURT-123, Attorney Big Al, Jason Fine. And guys, real quick, if you're out there, please either use any promo code for Monkey Cold Coffee. Number one, it goes to a great foundation. Matt, the owner, gives 10% to the National Pediatric Foundation. Great cause. We don't care where it comes from. He always pays it forward. And also, Phil, have you tried that honey agave yet?
I have not got my hands on that yet.
Me either. I ordered one, but I didn't get it yet.
Yeah. Listen, I'm lucky enough to be ground zero for Monkey Cult, right, in the area. So I like to support all my local establishments. So this weekend on my way down to the Rumble, I'm going to stop at my favorite local liquor store that I support and grab me some of that honey agave. That's for sure.
That's right. Matt is selling in the liquor shops down there, correct now?
Oh yeah, man. It's a great collaboration that he came up with using his bourbon infused and liquor infused, spirit infused, you would say, coffees, and partnering with the liquor stores around here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know what I do. I go to the liquor store. I don't drink as much, but I bought this thing called Hallerhead. It's like a banana whiskey, and I mixed that with the bourbon chocolate chip. Oh my God. Yeah. Insane. Yeah.
That's actually how Matt and I met, was to a bourbon community. Actually, here we were at a tasting locally. That I met some guys when I was in Nashville for the Lightning game a couple years ago. So,
gotcha.
Anyways,
all right. Well, you ready to get out of here, Phil?
Oh yeah, I got a house full of my nephews and my son having a sleepover. I can hear them even through my headphones. I got to get out there.
You better get out there and make sure the house is not exploded already out there, brother. I got to get to it's night with the wife and daughter here. It's Netflix night tonight. So, guys, my name is Paul Spencer. That is Phil. Oh, excuse me that way. I'm so used to being outside. That is Phil Haney, the Stash. Check him out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, wherever he's at. Please check him out. Until then, we'll see you next week, and hopefully you make some money and hope your team wins if your team is still winning. If not, enjoy some good damn football this week. So we'll see you next week, 7 p.m. Friday night. Until then, have a great weekend.
Take the point.